Greetings, fratres and sorors. I'm truly excited to be with you today, and I'm truly excited that you are here as well. And thank you for spending your time with us today. So I will be presenting on the finding inner balance in challenges. So give me a moment to share my slides. Finding inner balance in challenges is one of a very, composing this presentation brought me so much joy that I hope would also bring you as much excitement, just at the wisdom of this of our teachings and the beauty reflected in these passages that will be read during this presentation. So in this presentation, we will answer the following questions. What are trials from a spiritual perspective? What is the nature and purpose of the soul? And how does it relate to trials? How can we best handle trials? In addition, we will be talking about spiritual practices that would help us through difficult times. So if you're curious like me and want to know these spiritual practices, I would encourage you to stay to the very end, and to our Rosicrucian YouTube viewers to watch to the very end. So let us begin by going back to two extracts in the Rosicrucian ontology, well illustrated by Serge Toussaint in his book titled The Rosicrucian Ontology, and contemplate on their full meaning for a moment. The divine is the universal intelligence which taught, manifested, and animated creation according to immutable and perfect laws. All creation is infused with a universal soul, and although the universal soul is pure and perfect, it is not conscious of being so. Rather, its purpose is to evolve towards an awareness of its nature and reintegrate with the source from whence it emanated. To do this, the soul uses the support of matter and life. The material world and all its living creatures have no other function than to contribute to the evolution of the universal soul and its final reintegration into divinity. Let us bring our attention to the highlighted words in these extracts and then proceed to answering the questions. The divine is the universal intelligence. All creation is infused with a universal soul. The universal soul is pure and perfect. It is not conscious of being so. Its purpose is to evolve towards an awareness of its nature. The material world and all its living creatures have no other function than to contribute to the evolution of the soul. What can we extract from these texts as to what a trial is, or the purpose for it, or how it relates to the soul? What is the soul's purpose, and how does it relate to our trials? Let us analyze this together. We are told in the extracts that the universal intelligence, known as the divine, infuses all of creation, including each one of us, with a pure and perfect soul. We are familiar with the saying, humans are made in the image of the divine. That has been mentioned in many sacred texts, which speaks of the soul as being in the image of the divine and not the physical body. The soul in each one of us is a spiritual energy of divine origin and is powerful, indestructible, and unchangeable. On a conscious level, we are unaware of how perfect and powerful the soul is. We understand from our teachings that the purpose of our earthly existence is for us to become conscious of the nature of our soul. This is the goal of all creation, to evolve towards an awareness of the nature of the soul. It is the first cause, and the material world and all its living creatures have no other function than to contribute to the purpose of evolution. So what is a trial? And what is its purpose? Our studies define a trial as a situation that tries us both physically and morally, and whose purpose is to bring forth our courage, patience, trust, faith, and other qualities of the soul. Please note the words, bring forth the qualities of the soul. In other words, a trial allows us to express the soul's virtues. We learn in our teachings that virtues are the faculties of the soul. So when we express virtues like humility, generosity, tolerance, and patience to each other and ourselves, we express a greater intelligence, the wisdom of the soul. Trials may include the loss of something dear to us, a business challenge, or a health challenge, all of which inherent purpose is to bring us to the realization of the nature of the soul. When we become aware of the spiritual nature of things, we understand the oneness in all things, and so realize that in all our earthly existence, the self is constantly meeting the self. We should therefore endeavor to face our challenges and not run from them, because as we can see, their inherent purpose is to develop or evolve us towards the awareness of the nature of the soul. This is so important, and I will reinstate it, and I will restate it for emphasis. We should therefore endeavor to face our challenges and not run from them, because as we can see, their inherent purpose is to develop or evolve us towards the awareness of the nature of the soul. In an experience of a loss, we understand that spiritually there is no loss. The soul, which is infused in all creation, and spirit present in all material things, are of the divine, therefore indestructible, and can never be lost. Spiritually, there is no loss. In business or health challenges, we realize the nature of our relationship with the creative forces, spirit, soul, and vital life force in and around us. If our purpose is to use anything of the material world, including our associations for self-indulgence, without thought for its use for the evolution of our soul, for which it came into manifestation, we become subject to the karmic laws. We learn from our studies that our daily lives, down to the smallest detail, are reflections of the alchemy we constantly apply to the vibrations of spirit. Let us remember that the spirit underlying all material manifestation is only constructive in nature. So too is the soul and life force, which are also constructive in nature, meaning that our very essence is constructive. And when we go against this constructive nature by the improper use of our will, we subject ourselves to the spiritual laws. Therefore, we should always be positive and constructive in our thoughts, words, and actions. This is the basis for the law of good. And to live happily, we must conform to this law. Our teachings define happiness as a state of consciousness resulting from the good we do. A happy existence is due to the good we have done in our present or past lives. Fratres and sorors, let us take a moment to close our eyes and imagine in our minds a world where everyone is so kind to each other, so generous, and so considerate. How would the world look? This is our mission on earth, to be agents of good. Without going into the comprehensive subject of karma, it is important to note that some trials are related to karma and some are not. Let's examine this diagram from our studies reflecting the law of the triangle. We understand from our teachings that every reincarnation is because we did not reach perfection in our previous lives, and lessons remain to be learned. Due to the goal of evolution, we must reincarnate until our free will is consistent with the divine laws and there is no karmic debt to be paid. Contrary to the popular belief, karma is a law of love, and its purpose is not punitive, but to help us to become conscious of our spiritual nature and to express it in our behavior. But why do we find it difficult to always use our free will in accordance with the divine laws? We understand from our teachings that there are three main reasons for this. Due to the imperfect nature of the mental processes of humans, due to the intuitions which guide us not sufficiently being developed, and three, and lastly, due to the limited knowledge of the spiritual laws. One of the objectives of the mystical student is to develop these three areas. However, it is important to note that not all trials are karmic. There are also non-karmic trials that result from just being on earth. For instance, many doctrines report of the trials that highly evolved spiritual masters face while on earth. Therefore, we should not attribute our trials and that of others to negative karma. Instead, we should work on overcoming them. As previously mentioned, the purpose of karmic trials is not punitive, but to show us how our attitude was not positive. When used as a stepping stone, it becomes an opportunity for service to others. Therefore, trials are opportunities for us to express our divine nature in our responses to them. That is, to express virtues like patience, faith, courage, trust, and kindness in replacement for fear, doubt, intolerance, and discord. Put in other words, trials allow us to put the virtues into action. And by facing our trials, we build our inner strength and draw the most incredible wisdom from them. Therefore, we should try to work on resolving all our trials. How do we handle trials? To answer this question, let us refer back to the reciprocal oncology that states, the universal soul is pure and perfect. It is not conscious of being so. As previously mentioned, trials evolve our consciousness to the awareness of the perfect nature of our soul. The best way we can handle a trial is to become conscious of the nature of our soul and to express its virtues in our actions. Without going into the comprehensive subject of consciousness, It will suffice here to say that humans have both lower and higher faculties of consciousness, with which we use to perceive, analyze, and find solutions to our trials. However, just like a camera is limited and unable to capture the motion of the wind or the warmth of the sun, so too our mental processes, which are unable to capture everything that is truly occurring in a given instance. However, in trials, there is a tendency to place all our faith and trust in the limited function of the mental faculties. To know the mysteries behind our trials, we should use the higher faculties of the soul. In trials, it is best to place the physical self under the soul's direction. This is done by turning inwards through meditation and then expressing the soul's wisdom in our actions. Through meditation, we attune with the cosmic and find answers and solutions to our trials. We also understand from our teachings that the soul contains in potential all of divine wisdom and is a combination of cosmic laws. When we put the virtues into action, we bring forth the soul's potential. Therefore, the best way to handle a trial is to do both of this. Turn inwards through meditation and put the soul's virtues into action. We will now summarize this presentation with the spiritual laws which we can apply in challenging times. When faced with a trial, turn inwards and 1. Reflect and analyze the problem to determine the cause or no cause. Ask ourselves, does this trial relate to my soul's purpose? 2. Be aware of the purpose of life and place our reasoning at the service of our evolutionary goal. Ask ourselves, what is my soul's purpose and how can I continuously reflect this in my thinking? 3. Adapt a positive attitude and behavior by aligning our thoughts, words, and action with good. Ask ourselves, am I being positive and constructive in my thoughts, words, and action? 4. Express the virtues of the soul. Express courage, faith, tolerance, kindness, and generosity in replacement of fear, doubt, intolerance, and unkindness. Ask ourselves, am I replacing my fears and doubts with trust and faith? 5. Meditate to attune with the cosmic, the source of all knowledge for guidance. 6. Where possible, make efforts to resolve the challenge. The inherent purpose of a challenge is to develop us and make us aware of our divine nature. Fratres and sorors, by serving the soul, we become vital instruments that the soul can use to express its wisdom in the material world. I'll repeat that. By service, we become vital instruments that the soul can use to express its wisdom in the material world. In conclusion, let's leave you with these 11 words to remember when dealing with a challenge. Turn inwards through meditation and put the soul's virtues into action. Thank you, fratres and sorors. This comes to the end of our presentation. Thank you for attending. I wish you peace profound.